Okay, we can go ahead and call the meeting to order, and then I will do the roll call.
All right, let's go ahead and call this meeting to order at 11:03 on 3/28/22. And can I go ahead, the clerk, get a roll call, please?
Yes. Paul Sandu,
Here.
Garrett Gatewood,
Here.
Phil Cerna,
Here.
Linda Budge,
Here.
Don Natoli,
Here. I'm here.
and we've established a quorum.
Excellent. All right. Do you have a video announcement that you need to read?
Yes, I will go ahead and read that now. This meeting is live streamed and temporarily closed to in-person public participation. The clerk's office is in the process of hosting hybrid public meetings that will provide board members and members of the public with the option to participate in the meeting either in person or remotely. Thank you for your patience and support. To make a verbal comment at today's meeting, dial 916-875-2501 and follow the prompts. When the chair opens public comment for a specific agenda item or off-agenda matter, callers will be contacted by phone and transferred into the meeting to make their public comment. Written comments are always accepted. Send your email comment to the board clerk at saccounty.net. Your comment will be routed to the board and filed in the record. And that concludes the announcement.
All right. I guess we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. And
Yes.
I'm gonna ask Ophelia to do the Pledge of Allegiance for us because she's new and we haven't had to do it yet. So everyone can stand and
Everyone stand. Put your hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
to
of the United States of America
and to the
republic for which it stands, one nation,
Under God,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and
and
justice
justice
for all. All right. Thank you very much. Let's go to section 1, action discussion matters.
Okay. Item number 1 is authorization for continuation of remote teleconference meetings.
Okay.
I
And
don't have a lot to add to this. This is a resolution that needs to be done as long as we're continuing to have these remote meetings. So I'm just asking for this authorization for this meeting. It actually has to be done every 30 days. So if we continue to have remote meetings, we will need to continue to adopt these resolutions.
hey,
I don't
Phil.
know if Krista has anything to add on this.
I'll move approval. We're all doing it.
I have nothing to add. Sorry, I was on mute. I don't have anything to add, really. It just depends on whether the board members or the directors prefer to continue meeting remotely after this meeting, whether we want to do this again.
Hey, Phil, are you guys still doing it at the county?
I'm sorry, are we still doing what at the county?
The remote meetings, or are you guys back all the way?
No, we have meetings back in chambers. But remember too that that's a bigger venue, and there's only 5 of us on a fairly sizable dais.
All right. Well, let's. Linda made a motion. Do I have a second?
It's already second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Member Galt, Member Sandu, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Gatewood,
No.
Cerna, Natoli,
Aye.
and Budge.
Yes.
And the motion carries.
All
And I
right.
would, again, this is Krista again. I would suggest that for the next meeting that Kim work with the clerk and with the chair in determining how we want to handle future meetings.
Okay.
Chairperson Garrett, this is Alma Munoz from the Clerk of the Board's office. I'm the assistant clerk and I'm training Ophelia today. And yes, we're transitioning our boards over within the next couple of months over to in-person meetings. We're just trying to, we have so many of our staff members who's never done an in-person meeting. So we're having to train them to do those over again, which is really strange. But so if you just have some patience with us, we'll get it figured out with Kim. I'll work with Kim and Ophelia, and we'll get them back to in-person.
Can we do the hybrid meetings? Are you guys prepared for that?
We can do those. It takes more staff, but we can do those as long as we do them based here and in our hearing rooms or in our offices. We can do hybrid meetings.
Yeah, because I find that's working best for my citizens and my council members. Because then, if they're out, they can still make the meetings. And so, I would love to be able to offer. I'm a tech guy. Tech works, but some people like the in person, and we'll have some people for in person.
Yeah, and I would appreciate the hybrid meeting.
All right.
Okay, I will make note of that, and then I'll work with Kim.
Great.
Mr. Chair, may I have a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just wonder if we're gonna go back to person meeting, where will be the meeting gonna held in downtown or the?
It would be downtown in the at the county building in one of the hearing rooms.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. But if we do the hybrid, Member Sandu, then of course you would be able to participate that way.
Yeah, because that's a long drive for even an hour meeting, especially coming all the way from Gulf. All right, let's move on. Let's do number 2.
Item 2 is authorize the Executive Director of South Sacramento Conservation Authority, JPA, to execute the Third Amendment to the agreement with DUDEC to provide as-needed services related to the implementation of South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan.
Okay, I will make a few comments here. This is the existing contract that we've had with DUDEC for several years now to assist with different tasks on the plan. And at this point, we're adding some additional funding to carry us through the next year. We anticipate some of those tasks will be things like helping to prepare the annual reports and a number of other things as they come up to assist staff. So this has been an ongoing contract, and that's a little different than the next item on the agenda, and I'll explain why there's 2 contracts when we get to that item. So this is essentially adding some additional funding to our existing agreement with DUDEC.
Okay, thank you. Council members, any comments?
To totally
I will
move the
move
item.
approval, unless Don just did.
I'll take the second. That's right. You got it.
Do we need to get a public comment, guys? Public comment?
Yeah.
Need public comment on this?
We currently have no public comments, and I failed to mention for item number 1, there were no public comments in addition.
All right. So you got a first and a second. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes. Member Sandu,
Aye.
Gatewood,
Aye.
Frost, Cerna,
Aye.
Natoli,
Aye.
and Budge.
Yes.
Motion carries with a unanimous vote.
Excellent. Thank you. Let's go on to item 3.
Item 3 is authorize the Executive Director of South Sacramento Conservation Authority, JPA, to execute an agreement with the DUDEC to provide program manager staff support services for implementation of the South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan.
Staff report?
Yes, so this is a new contract with DUDEC to provide more specific services with dedicated staff to assist with items related to the establishment of the preserve system. And the reason why this is a separate contract from the previous contract is this will be a dedicated staff that will work part-time on doing things like making sure that the conservation easements are in place and that the deeds are recorded and and that the management plans are being prepared or have been prepared, and monitoring all those activities. And the reason for this being a separate contract is because this particular contract and these services will be paid for out of the management and monitoring funds, as opposed to the general admin funds. So it requires a separate contract so that the billing is done separately and the services are paid for out of a different source of funding.
Okay, makes sense. Do we have any public comment?
We have no public comment at this time.
Excellent. Seeing none, council members, or do I have a motion?
I will move approval with the note that I appreciate him drawing a clear distinction between the two contracts.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
Totally second.
Perfect. Roll call, please.
Okay, Sandu,
Aye.
Gatewood,
Aye.
Cerna,
Aye.
Natoli,
Aye.
and Budge.
Yes.
The motion carries with a unanimous vote.
Excellent. Let's go on to item 4.
Item 4 is authorize the executive director of the South Sacramento Conservation Agency to execute the mitigation fee and preserve dedication agreement with Shalaco Investors.
All right.
Okay, I'll do a brief report. This is a mitigation fee and preserve dedication agreement with Shalaco Investors for a preserve that's approximately 77 acres in size. This is a hardline preserve that's identified in the plan in Planning Preserve Unit Number 1. The term hardline was used for these preserves that we knew the exact location and preserve boundaries, and these have already been approved by the agency ahead of time. So this is the agreement to move forward with that preserve dedication. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. We also have some representatives from Shalaco, and they can also assist in answering any questions.
All right. Perfect. Let's start with, do we have any public comment?
We currently have no public comments.
All right. Council members, do you have any comment or questions?
Karen, I do have a question. For me, the exhibits are always extremely critical, and I'm looking at 2 exhibits. Number 1 is figure 2, labeled proposed project phases, and the other one, it's not labeled on the thing. It might be the land cover impacts. I'm not sure. It looks like that. Okay. So I'm sure we have somebody who can answer the question. On these 2 maps, we're seeing some very, very straight lines, very sharp turns, right angle turns, and I'm wondering what the purpose of drawing these things so straight and rigidly might be. Because to me, it makes me think of the concrete ditches all over the north area.
I think since this is a hardline preserve, this was already, set forward what those were going to look like. But I think we have some representatives from Chalico on the line, and maybe they can address that.
Hi, yes, this is Tarne with eCorp Consulting. I think I can help address this. I guess I would just like some clarification on the question. So for the sharp lines that you're talking about, are you looking at the preserve boundary?
Oh, okay. What I'm looking at on both of these exhibits, these are the areas that have hash marks on them. And so like one of them is labeled segment 03 or D3. One of them crosses the two preserves F5 5A, and it's labeled segment 06, I think.
I see. Okay.
The one on the west side of 5A that conforms to the meandering boundary of 5A doesn't concern me, but given that the whole purpose of these preserves is to preserve, literally, the natural environment out there, when I say it makes me think of the north area in the county, I'm quite serious about it. We had a drainage engineer in the 80s who was a longtime county exec, Tom Campbell, and he's the one responsible for channelizing and concreting all of the sloughs and creeks up there. And he obviously solved a lot of problems and opened up the entire north area pretty much for all the developments that's there today. But if we really intend to draw channelized preserves, that seems to run contrary to the whole intent of VHCP to begin with. Does that make sense?
I think so the gray hatching area that you're looking at with the sharp angles, that is outside of the preserve. That is actually part of the backbone infrastructure for the project, so that represents where future sewer alignments will be built, and are not part of the preserve configuration. There's no channelization proposed as part of this preserve. The boundaries have allowed for a 50-foot, in most places, a 50-foot setback from any impacts outside of the preserve. So no credit is given for features within 50 feet of the impacts to, account for edge effects. The crossing through the central preserve is a pedestrian trail that also has a sewer line and storm drain going up to Kite Creek.
Okay. And that's great that we're going to get another pedestrian trail.
Yeah. And then in terms of on the smaller preserve area, the lines around that preserve is really just constricted by the existing roads. So there's Kiefer Boulevard to the north and Sunrise Boulevard to the west. Does that help answer? Or
so maybe these are formal drainage basins instead of parts of the preserve.
Correct. So if you're looking, sorry, I can't. There's a little bit of a lag on the video, so I don't think I can see what you're.
Okay, I might be able to help out here. So, yeah, the hashed areas are not that you're looking at on the map that shows the actual residential lots. So if we look up at the
that's the one with the blue one.
Yes, correct. And if you look up at the map features, those hashed areas are shown as proposed backbone. So those are not part of the preserve, and there's also a 50-foot setback from those areas in the preserve.
Okay, so so backbone means infrastructure.
Yes, and that probably should have been more clear in that legend.
Okay.
Linda, you're always bringing these great things to my attention, and then the next time I try to make sure I do a better job at these maps.
Well, it's not, believe me, it's not intended to be a criticism. I just, I looked at this looks like a concrete ditch to me. So I just wanted to make
No,
sure.
I appreciate the feedback, and I do try to take it to heart and have better figures. So I'll keep working on that.
Okay, super. That was my only question.
All right. Seeing that's the only question, do I have another questions? Do I have a
Then I
motion?
will move approval.
I'll give it a second, and I'll ask for roll call.
I had to unmute. Sorry about that. Sandu,
Aye.
Garrett,
Aye.
Cerna,
Aye.
Natoli,
Aye.
and Budge.
Yes.
And you have a unanimous vote.
All right. Excellent. Let's move on to executive director report.
Okay, this will be brief today. I am still seeking some office space, and I'm working with our real estate folks to get a new list of available properties. We're going to update that and hopefully be able to move forward on that, like I'm hoping in the next 6 months. And then we spoke a little bit about the virtual meeting continuation earlier, and that is something that's on my mind, and I will definitely be working with Alma to come up with some solutions. Our meetings are usually pretty short, so I understand the concern about trying to come downtown. But we don't have the problem right now, but we may be facing, compliance with the Brown Act. Right now, those rules are a little relaxed, which makes it easier to do the hybrid. So I will work with the board clerk to try to come up with a good solution for our next meeting. So right now, I'm not sure. Our next meeting's on May 23rd. I'm not sure if we're going to be having that as an in-person or hybrid meeting yet, but we will be adopting the budget at that meeting. So I definitely expect to have that meeting on May 23rd. So if anybody has any other thoughts on the meeting format and, continuing the virtual meeting, I'd love to hear that.
Okay. Go ahead,
I would
Linda.
only add that in the past, we've had times when we've had council members call in. They were out of town or whatever, and personally, I don't mind. In the past, we were able to satisfy the Brown Act by simply listing the location that the person was calling from. And yes, from time to time, it might have been a hotel, and and might have looked kind of funny. But as long as we tell everybody and make something available for them, then that seems to have worked out quite well. I personally don't mind telling people it's my home office and putting a note on the front door if they want to come to the meeting. And Paul may have some different thoughts about that, but yeah, for us, and especially Paul, to drive at good 45 minutes to get all the way here from Galt for a half-an-hour meeting really seems like a waste of his time and something that could be solved with some of Garrett's fantastic technology.
Yeah, I think the right way is the hybrid meetings. We just need to figure out how we do it on the Brown Act, because that's the easiest way for a lot of us people that they're having trouble getting to these meetings. So
yeah.
So I'll be in touch with the clerk and you guys to talk about what we can do, because I think that's what Rancho is going to more likely go to.
Okay, that sounds good.
All right. To the end, any member comments? Really quick, I have a question about do we stretch all the way to Hazel, Linda?
Rancho?
No, the development that covers under the JPA. So if people were going to build,
Actually, Garrett, there's an exhibit that shows the limits of the HCP that was in that last, what's in the thing about Shalico.
Yeah.
It's the one that, it's figure 7.3, existing preserves and HCP planned wireline preserves. And it's got, except for really the more the rural South County, it's got these purple lines that denote the HCP boundary. But I'll bet Kim could send you a good one.
Okay. Some developers were reaching out to me and they're newer to the game, and they asked because they really want to be part of, they really hoping it comes through us. And I was pretty certain, but I didn't have an exact map that was like right up to here. So Kim, if you could send me a map that kind of shades in where they would have to go out of the preserve and when they can stay with us, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's no problem. Now, sometimes when you're getting near the border, it's hard to tell from these maps. Sometimes we have to just look it up online, and then we can really hone in on where exactly the line is. So, but yeah, I'd be happy to send you a map.
Excellent. All right. That's about it. Hold 1 second. And all right, any other public comment?
We have no public comments at this time. Thank you.
All right. Seeing none, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you.